Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to this DeliveryX live session exploring the modernisation of parcel delivery services. I'm Katie Searles, editor of DeliveryX, and your chairperson for today. For this presentation, I'm delighted to be joined by Duncan Mitchell, CEO, and Tom Nimmo, co-founder and CTO of Ryde. Before we look at delivery's historical problems, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, firstly coming to you, Duncan?
Yeah. Hi, Katie. First of all, thank you for having us. So I'm Australian. I moved to the UK in the early 2000s, so I've got a little bit of the accent left maybe, but not too much. I have a background in commerce law and spent a little bit of time in that area, and then I moved into contingent workforce technology about 15 years ago, where Tom and I have got a fair bit of experience building businesses that mobilise large workforces, in particular through the technology. I founded a company called Temp Tribe, which focused particularly on the hospitality space. So a lot of sports stadiums and hotels in particular. And then a few other little journeys along the way, and ended up partnering with Tom to build Ryde.
Excellent. And Tom, do you want to tell us a little bit about your journey then?
Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm Tom. I started my career at Accenture as a tech consultant. So in the management consultancy space, did lots of tech projects across the world, building tech to sort of connect countries together and working with some large companies on transformations. I then left that with a couple of friends to co-found Hassle.com, which is a marketplace for cleaners. So you can put in your postcode, find a cleaner instantly. And we grew that across the UK, took it into Europe, and we sold that company to Helpling. We raised a Series A with that as well, with Axel partners along the way. And then I got introduced to Duncan through an interesting story. We our wives both did baby yoga together, and we ended up working together on this latest project.
Brilliant. So from baby yoga to Ryde, Duncan, can you give us some more information about the business itself?
Sure. So Ryde is a delivery management platform. We have two core elements to the business. On the one side, we have quite a large workforce across the UK. That's everything from riders on green vehicles to van drivers. We're particularly using electric vehicles a lot at the moment and trying to go 100% in that direction. And then we have a SaaS technology piece, which is anything from a full API solution for large enterprise businesses through to on-demand delivery technology for SMEs and other smaller businesses that don't require the full solution.
Fantastic. We will come back onto that green point, that sustainability point later. But as the title of this session suggests, there are some real issues around parcel delivery. What would you think the key problems are in this space that need to be addressed urgently? Duncan, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. One thing that we've been working on quite a lot recently has been around compliance, onboarding and compliance. So there's been a fair bit of press on illegal workforces, people sharing accounts, whether checks are done properly, whether those checks are maintained. So Tom's team spent quite a bit of time building out a really nice automated flow on dealing with compliance problems. And then we know there's been a lot of controversy on quality of service in the industry lately. I'm sure everybody's seen a bit of press on that. Unreliable delivery service and issues with real-time management of people and delivery and things like that. And the knock-on effect of some of that has been profitability. We're seeing increasingly declining margins for a lot of the larger companies in the space, and a bit of a race to the bottom has been going on for a few years in terms of pricing. And then something perhaps on the technical side, maybe Tom wants to jump in with a couple of the points on the more technical side.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we see very much that moving the delivery apps to mobile phones, which allow for greater flexibility across your workforce. This is a really key point. So Ryde actually has our own full delivery app that we allow our riders to use. So if a company can't provide that, then we can provide that service alongside our core platform. And it's all about speed, as you know. It's all about real time, so making sure that you know exactly where your delivery force is and where they can move to better optimize and become more efficient. So yeah, they're just some of the key things that the tech side has to handle.
Thank you very much. We will come back to the tech point, but just to clarify on Duncan's point about the well-reported delivery difficulties, whether that's missing parcels, late deliveries, things just being knocked back by supply chain issues, say, for retailers and the carriers that they work with, is there anything they can do to sort of solve these failed deliveries, and what should they be prioritising first? Do you want to start, Duncan?
Yeah, I mean, look, we think we've come from a workforce background, so for us, that starts with the workers themselves and making sure that they're having a really good experience. Part of that is technology led, and so there's a big difference between mobile UX for a good product and a bad product, and I mean, one of the things that we work on is job distribution. We're allowing managers at local hubs to reorder jobs in real time. We're allowing the workforce to reorder their deliveries in real time, and just small improvements like that across the board at each stage of the delivery flow, we're finding make quite a significant knock-on difference in the longer term.
Excellent. And Tom, before we really get into the nitty-gritty of the technology, is there anything you want to add about those delivery difficulties?
Yeah, I think we always have to remember the customer is a key part of this. So allowing our customers to change what's happening as well from their side is important. And we're seeing a lot more of this nowadays, the ability for our customers to change the delivery slot in real time, let the delivery couriers know that they are there, but they're sort of late turning up and so on. So having these kind of real time, again, back to this real time instant updates, that's the important thing. And so both from the customer side and from the actual courier company side and the couriers themselves, making sure that interaction between all parties is real time and happening continuously. Yeah.
Communication is key, whether it's to that end consumer or even in the partners that you're working with. When discussing these sort of technologies and the solution and the platform, are you getting any pushback? Is there any obstacles? Is there things retailers need to change within their own operation to make this work? We'll start with you, Duncan.
Yeah, I think that legacy systems are a constant challenge for us, especially with larger customers. It's difficult to move a large customer off a technology platform that they're already on and a large organisation has become comfortable with. And then on both sides, we have an education, an adoption challenge of ensuring our customers understand the product completely, ensuring that our workers know how to do the basics of the product, and it's surprising how often, even with good programs in place that we'd like to think we have, it's a constant iterative process to make sure that you're designing a good education. You've got other little funny things around the service, like vehicle restrictions, for example. Sometimes we can't charge mobile phones, and that's a little challenge for us. But yeah, there's some interesting little things like that pop up.
And Tom, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, absolutely. So also kind of other small things, a lot of work happens remotely across the country, and the technology and connectivity there is not quite as good as you'd expect. So having the ability to take these apps offline and then sync back to the main systems afterwards is quite important as well. So we're seeing that as a kind of increasing need across a lot of the couriers. And that really then helps, again, to get the best delivery experience across the board for all the different parties. So,
Tom, that's a really interesting point, actually. Is this a problem that you see when you're comparing, say, urban logistics, things that operate within a city, to trying to roll out this service in, say, more rural communities?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, connectivity is just one thing. It's also the way the deliveries go. So you see a much different profile of how the delivery works in the sort of compared to urban and rural areas. So much larger gaps between deliveries. The vehicle size, the way the vehicles need to operate at their most efficient is different. So obviously within cities, you can also introduce then cycling and so on, whereas that's just not possible out in the sort of rural areas. So yeah, absolutely, we see it's a much different it's a different game, inner city and rural. Absolutely.
Yeah, even with an e-bike, I don't think you're going to be able to run these sort of bike cargo delivery systems where I'm currently in Kent, but we see it all the time passing the office in central London. Modern delivery is also fast. The consumer expectation over speed of what they can get their things is jumping up. Next day is now becoming the same day. Duncan, is technology really important here to meet those expectations and also maybe deal with some of the issues surrounding the gig economy?
Yeah, I mean, if I take the gig economy bit first, I'll give a little plug for the gig economy here. I think that it's unfairly demonized sometimes, especially as you say, if we're moving to a faster speed of service, you need a matching workforce economy around that, and some of the contentious points around how tax is handled, how pension is handled, real flexibility, and so on, are things that we've always championed good solutions for, and I think when that's done well, you can run a really good and fair gig economy business. I think some of the benefits around running those kind of businesses and running them tech-led is, for example, opening a broader demographic of people that wouldn't normally be able to access these types of jobs, is being able to rethink how you cost these jobs. So we have a concept of a per drop model where we're still ensuring that our workforce gets a fair hourly pay and so on within the context of a typical shift program. But we're able to give a much better understanding to our customers of unit economics of their individual deliveries and things like that, and we do all of that on the platform. So I think those types of things really help a lot, and we'll see them increasingly as we move forward into the future. And yeah, again, Tom probably has a couple of other points on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So tracking is obviously really important. Making sure that you're continuously tracking the workforce. It's very much around how you incentivize as well the workers using the technology itself. So making sure that that's built into the delivery flow, and that's part of the core service that you offer. Going fast is also about hiring fast as well, and maybe we'll get on to some of that in a minute. But hiring fast and having that ability to onboard quickly, bring in new workforce as required to scale up and scale down is really important. So that technology part, it's not just about the delivery itself, it's about the workforce over a period of time as well.
So do you want to expand on that, onboarding the workforce? Does the technology make it easier for people to do this job in a sort of fulfilling and a safe way?
Yeah, absolutely. And both a compliant way as well. It's really important that the couriers and the drivers are compliant on the platform, and making sure that compliant is not just a one-time thing at the start of their work life with that company. It's about continued compliance as well. But absolutely safety, it's all about getting that balance between moving fast but moving safely, and making sure also that there's nothing hidden. There's been a real tendency in the industry to hide the performance metrics of these drivers, and kind of exposing that out in a fair and open manner is really important for both the couriers and the companies to work effectively together. And that's something we're seeing very much, and we're playing around a lot with this at the moment, is trying to understand where's the right balance between speed, performance, and tracking, and managing all of those combinations together.
You mentioned the technology is really good at the tracking side of it, which those in-flight notifications are becoming just expected now. Is there also a route optimization element here? Can technology, whether it's automated or getting increasingly clever, help make sure that these drivers are going to actually, firstly, the right location, but the right door as well? It's becoming tricky in modern apartment blocks. It's sometimes not the front door. The best place is, in fact, a rear entrance where there's an elevator. Can technology have a part to play here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're seeing we're certainly doing some work in this space, but we're seeing some really clever tech coming out that allows you to almost go into sort of 3D mode as you arrive at a certain location and get a direction overlaid on the actual surroundings. So it's almost sort of virtual reality showing you where the door is or the most efficient route through. And it's certainly important when you get to large apartment blocks where actually you almost need routing within inside the apartment block itself. So, go in through entrance A, start your journey, head along the bottom floor, and then head up to the second floor and take doors. It's not the obvious, just start on door number 1 and work your way through. So that is quite important as well. Obviously, the key thing for that is having information and data on all of these locations. And that's actually a big part of this, is understanding. It's one of the reasons why consistency of your workforce is important, because if they're returning back to the same locations, that information is retained within the courier's brain, and they know what to do and know how to do it efficiently. Obviously, that's tricky when you have a workforce that's continually changing. So trying to take that information and map it into the delivery is quite a difficult challenge, actually, and it's one that we're certainly working on a lot at the moment.
Field delivery is obviously a really important thing for that consumer experience, but it also ties into the sustainability discussion. I don't think we can talk about parcel delivery without mentioning the sort of increasing want for green delivery. Duncan, is the right platforms, the right sort of solutions critical to cleaning up parcel delivery?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I think that goes alongside the platform for us is the vehicles themselves. We haven't really talked about them much today, but there's a big struggle in the UK at the moment to acquire electric vans, for example, and we've seen Arrival, British Volt, some of those players collapsing or coming close to it. It's likely that there's going to be longer and longer backlogs certainly for smaller companies to acquire some of these vehicles when the likes of Amazon and so on are putting in massive orders. And then you've got all of the charging technology. It's reasonably accessible in London, but gets worse as you move outside of London. We would love to see better programs in ensuring that they can scale up effectively alongside each other, the supporting infrastructure and the vehicles tying in with technology like ours. So I think that certainly is probably the one important point that I'd bring to the conversation.
With the sort of 2030 deadline of no new sort of petrol or diesel vehicles, and that's a proper challenge for retailers, for smaller businesses, as you mentioned. Tom, is there going to be the number of vehicles and the supporting infrastructure by then, or is actually electric vehicles not the way that we should be looking at, and it is more sort of pedal-powered, on-foot deliveries? Is that the future?
I think it's actually going to be a combination of both, and it's very much going to be down to the local councils and communities and how they operate within their cities. So we're seeing very different kind of progression towards that 2030 goals in different places, and some cities are really going quite fast, and they're opening up community hubs that allow multiple couriers to use the same locations to deliver from. They're also encouraging schemes like the cargo bike schemes that allow you to use smaller electric vehicles. And then there's also time of day. So some places are allowing larger vehicles in at different times of day and so on. So I think it's actually going to be it all converges on one place, and I think it is going to become all electric and so on. Unfortunately for parcel delivery, foot and bike are always going to be constrained, and you're always battling this kind of trade-off between route optimization and the number of parcels you can fit into that route versus the ability to keep it as green as possible and as sort of small and light as possible. So that trade-off is always there, and unfortunately, the kind of the ultimate thing is to get as many parcels into one vehicle as you can and head off on a route. So that constraining factor is a difficult one to manage, and I think different communities are handling it in different ways. But yeah, hopefully we will see communities and local councils open up more to trial out this technology, and that's the key thing: is doing lots of trials and working with the companies in a kind of collaborative manner to get this over the line.
We've also covered some of the trials of reconditioning or repurposing spaces for these hubs that you've touched on. Is sort of empty car parks in a city centre going to be reused as a micromobility hub that things can be brought into? Duncan, are we seeing more of a localised parcel delivery option? Is that going to be the future parcel delivery?
Yeah, I mean, we're working already with plenty of partners that are rolling out car park led solutions. They're a step in the right direction, but have their limitations in some cases. I mean, just to give you a quick example of one of them, sometimes when you're delivering to these car park spaces in large lorries, you can't even get all the parcels into the storage space that you're looking to get them into. The lorry's stuck out the front, so there's these logistic challenges in some cases. But there's no question in our mind that localized hub supporting a faster, more localized workforce network is the direction that big cities are taking, and certainly where you see some of the government papers supporting that direction.
And Tom, just looking ahead then, this session was about modernising parcel delivery. What is next? What is the next key trend? What should we be keeping our eyes out for?
So I think one of the key underlying things is going to be consolidation and aggregation of parcel delivery, and that can be solved with tech, but it's also a big win if companies can just get together and utilize the same resources. It's the same drivers, it's the same hubs that we've talked about, bringing all of that together. And I think that does actually work well if you can get tech involved to do that. So, looking at, you have 3 different companies all delivering in the same space. Why don't they just share the same last mile driver? That really does have a huge optimization on both efficiency, cost, but also on the environment, and bringing that kind of 2030 target into a realistic space. So I think that's one of the big things for us, is seeing that. It's also about exposing the data and making that available to local managers and local hub managers, enabling them to optimize their local setup as best they can. As we talked about, everyone has different needs depending on whether you're in urban or rural environments, and you need to be able to adapt to that. So it's not a one-size-fits-all operation.
Duncan, do you want to add anything on how these parcel deliveries can become future-proofed?
I think that we're not necessarily reinventing the wheel here, but that increasingly we're certainly trying to improve mobile device usage for real-time management, for hub managers, for how we can cluster packages in certain areas, rapid reporting that helps them make better business decisions. Some of the key metrics that we've always felt were really important, we noticed weren't well reported on in real time, and if it's not, then they've got a limited ability to affect the actual performance. So real-time issue management for us is a big one. We have quite a large team just looking constantly at real-time issues and flagging them, and we have dashboards for customers that talks that a lot. And then other things like proof of delivery, and then AI surrounding proof of delivery. So the next generation of not only we're getting the photographs, but we're instantly analysing the photographs, and there's some good businesses out there doing that kind of thing. So yeah, I think it's heading in that direction. Excellent.
Duncan, Tom, thank you so much for your insight today. If our viewers are looking for further information, where do they need to go for it? Who's best to get in contact with? Feel free not to give out your personal address.
Oh, no, they're very welcome to contact us personally. I'll take that one. So yeah, well, I'm on duncan@ryde.team, so feel free to email me directly, or our website is just www.ryde.team. So either one is perfect.
Thank you very much. This DeliveryX live session is going to be available to watch back on demand. So if there's any other points that you want to touch back on, or even share it with a colleague, it will be available in the coming days on DeliveryX.net. A massive thank you again to Tom, to Duncan, and our viewers. Stick around though. The final session of today is going to look at the delivery persona. For now though, Duncan, Tom, goodbye.
Thanks, Katie.